I've had cerebral palsy my entire life. It was diagnosed when I was 2 years old. But it mostly affects my walking. Like, my walking attracts a lot of negative kind of attention. I get a lot of people making fun of it or making comments about it. I don't like the question, oh, what's wrong with you then? I hate that question. You then automatically think, wait, I'm not like everybody else.
So why don't you tell me about the incident in the nightclub?
So me, Bethany and my sister, we were in a club and we were about to head out, and we were just at the cloakroom. We were in a queue, and then this man, he starts just pushing me, and he was just laughing in my face and pushing me. And then my younger sister saw, and she was like, came up to him and said, what are you doing? Stop pushing her. And then he said to her, oh, why is she walking like that? Why is she walking like that? Why is she walking like that?
He pushed her. That's when we had to jump in and push him back. And then his friend came over, do you remember? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Let me buy you a drink, blah, 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 blah.
Basically, the man who was pushing me was there, and he basically just
he
threw
dashed
the
his drink,
drenched all three of us, and then punched my younger sister in the eye.
Yeah. And it breaks my heart for her, because it's like, I only see a little bit of it, because obviously we spend a lot of time together, but we're not together 24/7. And it just makes me think, what happens when I'm not there? Like, what don't I see?
She's a little princess, aren't you? Eh? A little princess. If you offered to take her for a walk every 5 minutes, she'd go. She loves going out.
Yeah, but...
Day to day, going out, it's very rare that you can be in the public eye without someone pointing, laughing, staring, shouting, name-calling. The thing that really frustrates me more than anything is that people think that it's okay to do that. I was taking my dog out for a walk. It was around 6:30 in the evening. It was light outside. And then I just heard someone say, I dare you to go and kick that midget in the head. Now, I probably wouldn't even have heard them say that if they'd not used the word midget. It's a word I really hate. It's a word that has followed me all my life, where I find it very derogatory, very ignorant. So I looked over the road to where it had come from, but as I looked over, the person that a man was already almost in front of me, and he kicked me in the head, this side, in the face, and then ran off. I stumbled, I didn't fall, and looking back now, I think I was in shock. And I just sat on the sofa for the rest of the evening. I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't do anything. I think I was in shock. But then as the shock were wearing off, I felt angry. I was very angry, actually. Like, how dare you? How dare you do that to me? What have I done wrong? I don't even know you. Why would you do that to anyone? And when I got up the next day, my eye had closed. It was black, bruised. my partner. He asked me what had happened, and I told him, and he said, "And what did the police say?" So I said, "I'm not ringing the police." So he said, "Why?" So I said, "Well, I don't think they'll do anything, to be honest." He said, "Don't be silly. Ring the police or I'm going to ring them." So I did. I reported it to the police.
Come on.
For somebody to say to his mate, go and kick that midget in the head, and the word midget alone to a person of restricted growth is, you can't get a worse word, basically. You just can't get your head round it, how people can be like that. She's 4 foot. This lad was 5'8". Why would you do it?
The police took a statement over the phone and asked if Andrew would send photographs of my injuries and suggested that I went to A&E to get it checked out, which is what I did. As a result of the incident, I'd got a perforated eardrum and a fractured skull.
Table, and we'll just be moving these ones a little bit.
I think I've got all the weeds out already. Is that weed?
Oh, that's a new shoot, so yeah, leave that one in there.
To be honest, I don't tell people I'm autistic because it could be seen as I'm just, seeking for better treatment, seeking for attention, seeking to, it could be so-called excusing bad behaviour. People don't like the idea that someone on the spectrum is trying to fit in.
Put your one foot here, left foot here. Yeah?
They think that, oh no, I don't want to be seen with that guy. I'm going to be like an embarrassment or, socially awkward or something. No, I was just concerned about yours.
Right, concentrate on what we're doing, not what's going on in your head, yeah?
You got assaulted several times.
Dan talks to himself as a calming mechanism.
And I will get the army out. And they will get involved.
And also Dan doesn't get every social cue. And I think that's quite a common thing with those on the spectrum. So if he's talking to a person, male or female, and you get the idea that they don't want to talk back, he doesn't get that facial gesture. He doesn't get it like the rest of us would. Also, he gesticulates, so he might suddenly talk to himself, and that sort of motion,
And then we're going to go and have
that draws attention straight away, bang.
That's fine, because we'll come back to it.
People misinterpret a lot about me. I think people are so quick to judge. People profile me. They might, for example, mistake, my autism for like being a drug addict or something. I get targeted a lot. I get socially outcast and I'm easily treated as a social reject.
Also, he's unusually outgoing for someone on the spectrum, so he likes to go out and about. And he does generally like people.
So tell me what happened in the nightclub in Exeter.
I accidentally bumped into a girl in a nightclub. You know, to her it might have been a horrible barge, but didn't feel like it to me. Didn't even talk to her. I didn't even went up to her and talk to her. I just bumped into her. She chased after me, attacked me. I pushed her away multiple times. Didn't work. She punched me and kicked me, and I punched her back once. Yeah. The police were called. I was locked in the van and I was handcuffed, and they were ready to take me away. They were expecting me to be the aggressor, but no, it was the complete other way around. And they got the look of the CCTV and it proved that I was innocent.
Had there not been any CCTV, he would have been charged. Eventually, the police started to make contact with Dan, and they brought him in for to take a statement, and they then arrested the girl and charged her.
Did she apologise?
I can't. Did she apologise?
I think she did, yeah. I was told by the police she was very remorseful, yeah, that's what I was told.
I made a complaint with the Devon and Cornwall Police. Daniel was awarded an out-of-court settlement. There's not a lot I can say about it, actually, except it was a success and we were generally happy with the outcome there.
What do you mean there's not a lot you can say about it?
Well, the police don't want us to talk about the settlement details.
That's interesting. So why don't you tell me about the last incident at the bus stop in Exeter?
I was waiting at the bus stop. These guys came out of nowhere, it just happened. Somebody shouted abuse at me, I'm coming after you and stuff like that, I'm coming after you. There was two of them and they just charged right into me and started throwing multiple punches and I ran away. I crossed the road and they chased after me. They managed to trip me over when I got to the other side of the road and started kicking me when I'm down, basically, yeah. Two cars pulled over and a woman came out and a guy came out and they called the police.
He was covered in blood. He had a dislocated shoulder from the attack.
And, you know, they just weren't found and they still weren't brought to justice.
We never really know why Dan is attacked. We never really get to the bottom of it. You know, the police had two good witnesses who stopped to assist. There was an abundance of cameras on this estate, and I can't understand why more wasn't investigated.
So what effect did all this have on you?
I know, I was in a huge, extreme depression and I was extremely tired. I had very low energy levels. I was suffering in pain and I had countless of suicide thoughts. I just, you know, wanted to take my life, really. I overdosed in tablets and it didn't work.
It took a long time to get him out of this. I mean, and it affects everybody. It affects the family, it affects me, affects his mother. As he gets older, and now he's 30, I do worry that the same problems that we've experienced in the past will reoccur. So I'm anxious about that, and I worry about it.
Do a bit more work, all right, and I'll show you how to drive the track down. Okay. Just come up across here.
Okay.
All right, happy with that?
Yeah, yeah.
So what we're going to do, Dan, we're going to follow the track. And then we're going to head up towards the Ivica, okay?
I think it's important to, like, not feel like you're an outsider from the vast majority of the population.
Brilliant. Well done. All right, so look where you're going. Always look in front of you.
I want a true sense of belonging. I want to maybe have a good job or something. I just want to feel that I fit in.
think the disabled community are often viewed with a level of suspicion or mistrust. I find that comes from people's lack of knowledge around disability. It comes from how some people with disabilities, such as autism or ADHD or something like that, behave in a different way to how society expects. There's nothing wrong with how those people behave, but it's viewed with suspicion by other people, say, in their community. And that then leads to these strange allegations being made up. And that's very dangerous.
Morning.
Right, 1, 2, 3, go.
You go left or right here? Left here.
Yeah.
Just slow it down.
During 2013, I've lost all my sight in my right eye, the sight in my left eye. The easiest way to describe it to people is it's like looking through a frosted glass window. So I can see shapes, I can see movement, and I can see light and dark. So that's all I've got to go on. So there's no clarity to anything. When I first lost my sight, I was still working at the time, which meant that my accommodation came with my job. I was walking around the little estate that I was looking after, and I was mugged on one of the walkways going into the city. The underpass was literally about 300 yards from my front door. The police looked into it intensively, and as far as I'm aware, they got a potential suspect, but then the Crown prosecution threw it out, said that there wasn't enough evidence. And then I was mugged again. I was going to a meeting for work. It was about 9:20 in the morning. As I was coming up out of the underpass, somebody jumped out from the left-hand side and stood in front of me and just started really shouting at me, "Give us your money, give us your phone and everything." He sort of like grabbed hold of my hand, and then with his other hand he'd got this screwdriver and stabbed me. The police were starting to say, due to your disability, it does look like you're becoming a target in the area. So I spoke to my employers. They were happy for me to have moved off site, but even just doing that meant that I'd still be a target. So I made the difficult decision to terminate my contract of employment. But obviously then my next problem was finding somewhere new to live. So I obviously went up to the council, and they informed me that I didn't qualify for any help because by leaving my job that came with accommodation, I was actually making myself homeless. And obviously that was also complicated with the fact that I was also having to come to terms with actually losing my sight as well. You know, just having to find the confidence to go out with a white cane and navigate your way around. You feel vulnerable as it is, but then to be assaulted and attacked, it was soul destroying. You know, I got to the point where I thought, you know, real seriously, is it worth living? That moment when you wake up and you can't see through your right eye, and then as time goes on, you're aware that your vision goes, your whole world, in a sense, collapses around you. Because, you know, you think, how am I going to survive? I live by myself. I was driving. I mean, since I've lost my sight, I think that was one of my worst days, the day that I had to surrender my driving licence. I've always been a person that's tried to fight for disability rights and everything, but I just think sometimes it doesn't go far enough. How would you feel if tomorrow morning you woke up and you couldn't see? I said that is such a frightening experience because you just think, where do I go from here? Good girl. You can stand. With the help of the police, I was put in contact with the housing association. They found me accommodation, and then I finally got matched with Inca as my guide dog and getting to know my new area. It was actually Inca who then, built my confidence up to go out.
Good girl. Good girl. Straight on. Good girl. Very good girl.
Since I'd moved to the flat, a young teenager stopped myself and Inca from getting back into the flats. And one of the young men's friends actually assaulted Inca. Said, well, we don't like your dog. I'm going to hurt your dog, and turned around and kicked her.
Weeks after the assault, I was walking across the road and I could hear someone laughing from a window. And I looked over and there was this young male, 16, 17-year-old, sat on the window. And he shouted from the window, "You effing freak, you freak." And he shouted then to someone else in the flat where he was, "Pass me my phone, there's a freak outside. I want to take a photo and send it to so-and-so and tell him I found his bird. His bird's here." And I said to him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm taking a photo of you, you effing freak." So I said, "What gives you the right to do that?" He said, "I can do whatever I want." "Well, I'm going to ring the police." So he said, "Well," I said, "You're not allowed to do that." So he said, "Well, ring them." So I said, "Right, well, I am." I started walking away and this woman appeared at the window that I do think now was his mum. And she went, excuse me. So I looked up and she said, "What were you going to contact?" So I said, "I'm going to ring the police." So she went, "Why?" So I said, "Because he's taking a photo of me and he's not allowed to." So she went, "Well, why not? You're a freak. He can do what he wants." And I just had to walk away.
As someone with dwarfism, tell me how other people's view of your disability impacted you before the attack.
I got bullied all through school. There were bullies that pushed me around. There were bullies that would take your bag and empty your bag. They'd steal things.
Who's that?
It's me when I was a teenager. When we were doing PE, I couldn't do a lot of what my peers were doing. We'd play rounders and I'd be out at the first ball. We'd play netball and nobody ever wanted to throw it to me because I couldn't get it in hoop. There were no disability laws as such in them days, so it were like it or lump it, Andrea. If you don't like it, then tough. I left school in 1981. Then I got pregnant. I was 18. My mum also had dwarfism. My father was average height, and I've got 2 average height brothers. When my mum had me, she was told by a doctor that the reason why I'd got dwarfism was because I was a female. So when I had my son and he was born with dwarfism, it was a massive shock for me. During the first year of his life, he was in and out of hospital. When he was 11 months old, he was in intensive care for 3 days with very little explanation as to what were happening or what had happened or what led it to this. All we really got told before that was it was something to do with him having dwarfism. And then they turned the machine off. They said they were only the machine keeping him alive, so they turned the machine off. And Michael sadly passed away. I know. Ryan's first birthday.
Doesn't look like this.
It's silly. Of course it looks like me.
Must be 1980 with hair like that.
Yeah, it probably was. When I was pregnant with Ryan, by this time I was 24. So I'd gone through losing Michael and I'd gone through trying to get a job. And through all that time, you're still getting cold names when you go out. You're still getting cigarette ash flicked in your hair, beer poured on your head. People used to rest pints on my head. People just thinking it's okay to come and kick your legs from under you when you're stood in a bar or push you over. So I didn't want any child of mine to go through that. When Ryan was born, to my delight, he didn't have any form of dwarfism.
What do you think that says about the way society views people with disabilities?
I think it's very ignorant. Society's view on disability is very ignorant. And even going back to the incident, those 2 men that did that to me obviously thought it was okay to do that. And am I supposed to just accept that? Am I supposed to just think, well, it's my fault because I'm disabled? No, I'm not. I shouldn't have to adapt for society. Society should adapt for me. Not just me, anyone with a disability. Society should adapt.
Society in general doesn't have a concept of what life is like for a disabled person. Day-to-day life in general, of the additional measures that need to put in place for them to live their life as independently as they want, but then to have the bullying and harassment layered on top of that, knowing that it's happening to you because of who you are and because you have a disability.
I had a road traffic accident that put me in this chair. And, you know, that put an end to my professional working life, working with the NHS and doing something productive. And I was just about to finish my training. I was as an operating department practitioner. I loved what I did, helping other people. I would rather have none of this. Having people calling you a cheat, insinuating that I'm faking my disabilities and I'm getting something for nothing. I would happily give up what they think I have to have my life back as it was. In October 2019, I had to leave my home. due to intimidation and attacks on me personally.
Oh, they're doing it deliberately now. They shine the lights in. It's like really, do you know what I mean? It just won't stop.
Elsa was actually already working with my predecessor because she had been experiencing incidents in and around her home for, at that point, I'm quite sure, 12 or 14 years. So it could be a case of Elsa would be out, she would drive home, and she would come to find bins blocking her driveway. Lots of things that are just enough to cause you uncomfort in your own self, concern that every time you go out, you're going to come home and find something happen again.
I dreaded going to my home. I couldn't sleep because I was constantly alert as to what was going to happen next. I tried to explain to different authorities how bad this was, and to be quite honest with you, they just could not seem to wrap their head around the repetitive nature of these things, and they might seem minor to some people, but when you add them all together and the combination of them all, I was always waiting for the next thing. On numerous occasions over the years, there was relentless stoning of my property. Some of them were like large pieces of concrete. And police had come in and they could literally, and what's that noise? And they literally witnessed for themselves sitting in my home hearing the stoning. And it was morning, noon, night, it didn't matter what time of the day or night. There was eggs, cigarette butts, there was yogurt being thrown, flour bombed, and somehow tires suddenly going down overnight. Even suggested that I was a paedophile.
You can speculate why this happens to disabled people. In some cases, people believe that people with disabilities get an enhanced level of benefit from the government, and maybe there's a sense of jealousy. Some cases, they felt the person wasn't entitled to the disabled bungalow and their Motability car.
But yeah, every time somebody's car pulls up, they stop at the front of my driveway.
Did you ever try to talk to the people that seemed to be victimising you?
Over the years, I tried every approach, interacting and that, but everything, I was literally, it felt like I was being set up, because even if I tried to interact, next thing I know, I'd come home and there was an ashtray, smashed glass, litter thrown, bins were blocking. So it became clear to me that there was no way I was never going to be allowed to live in peace. I was not respected. The boundaries of my home, the taunting, the nasty jibes, the foul language, the comments, I wasn't respected at all.
You're an absolute joke. Kenny, you've brought all this shit on yourself, by the way. Absolutely brought it all on yourself. Kenny, and it was only for your neighbours that your house was burned down now, Annie, by the way. Fucking scumbag.
I've found that the majority of cases I dealt with, the disabled people are actually experiencing the abuse from people within their own community. It's not strangers who they're bumping into in the local town. It's people who live in the estate, in the area where they live, sometimes in their own street. So it's people who know them.
I literally could see what was happening to another family in the area. And over the last number of years, I'd noticed that there was a lot more police visits to their home, and I could see that they were having difficulties. And it became very evident that I was then going to be next.
What was happening in this particular street over a number of years was the two occupants in the two disabled bungalows were being targeted for ongoing bullying, harassing behaviour. And ultimately there was a more serious incident at their address, and because they'd invested in CCTV, police had the evidence to take forward a prosecution case. That family had to leave their home. They were able to move to a new property.
The last few weeks were the worst. I felt I was being targeted and this was not going to stop. And especially after the other family had, had to leave, I knew that it had a different sense to it than all of the other times, that this was never going to stop and they were going to do whatever they had to get me out of my home. In this last week, I was on the road. My car then was surrounded and they were coming towards my vehicle. One person in particular was standing at the bonnet of my vehicle, so I couldn't drive forward, filming me and saying, "We're going to report you to DLA. You're fake. You're not disabled. You're just pathetic and you're lying."
Ailsa was very much in fear of her own life, but to be moved from an area under police advice, under police escort, late at night, would suggest that yes, her life may well have been in danger.
Another crowd had gathered and were starting to attack police. More people were coming and I was petrified. The chanting and the roaring, I could hear it while I was trying to coordinate myself to get basic things out of the house. And eventually the police then came up and said, "We're going to take you to a place of safety," and then I had just to follow them. And then next thing, I was taken to a hotel and that was it. It was overwhelming because I hadn't planned to leave my home. That was my home.
Between 70 and 80% of disability hate crimes go unreported. That's for a number of reasons. It can be a fear of bringing in the police or another agency that will maybe make things worse. Or, I don't want to trouble police with something of such a minor nature. Or, I've only been targeted because I have a disability. And therefore, actually, it's my fault this is happening to me.
One day I was going to work. I was doing a night shift, so it's probably around maybe like 7 o'clock. So I had my headphones in, I was walking to the station, and I could hear like a lot of noise behind me, and all of a sudden this boy is like following me and he's saying, "Lean and bop, lean and bop." I said that's quite a popular song. Got to the point where he was in my face, like very much in my face, and he kept on doing it, he kept on doing it. "Lean and bop, lean and bop, lean and bop." And then I could see him following me. So I literally had to hide behind a car before I could go into the station. And I remember just calling my sister and I was like, "I don't know what to do, like they're following me, like I'm scared to come out of the car, like I couldn't miss work." I literally just wanted to go home. And that's probably one of the reasons why I decided to move back in with my family. I just didn't feel safe in my area anymore. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the most traumatizing experiences that have happened.
Do you ever contact the police after these incidents?
When incidents like that happen, I don't contact the police, just because it happens so frequently. You don't think of it as like hate crime or as discrimination, but it is. But it's something that's so frequent in your life, and also I don't feel like it will be taken that seriously. To be honest, I think it's just name calling or it's just bullying, or it's not something that's taken quite lightly. So if I go to the police, I feel like I'm just wasting police time in a sense. In school, I definitely got bullied. And I had like a electric wheelchair, and there was a lot of...
Yeah, because the whole school fundraised money for the wheelchair. And I don't know why, but everyone just felt like they owned it because they put £1 in. And they hated it. They hated it so much. They all wanted to go on it as well. And they were making up like, oh, Hannah's faking it, or she abuses
and that's
the
when
fact
it
that she's
started. This
disabled.
whole
God, I forgot
thing
about
for like went on for like years
Yeah.
about how I faked my disability. There was even a Facebook group about it and how I faked my disability, and like probably most of the year hated me at this point. But I think when you're that age, you're so young. I think you just look at, oh, but Hannah gets this and Hannah gets that and Hannah gets all these fundraising things. When you're young, you just look at those things. You don't actually look at the bigger picture and think to yourself, well, Hannah has a disability for life. Like she has something that she's gonna have to deal with all the time. I mean, like I think for them they thought, oh, Hannah has this motorised thing.
Yeah.
Like, I find it embarrassing that I even had to go in the road like that. I would rather have walked like side by side with my friends. I would rather not have had this wheelchair. But I think for them they just saw it as this like this toy that I got. But I think some people, when they see difference, it kind of scares them. I think people don't like the unknown. They don't like, and they don't understand the unknown. So when something scares you or you don't understand something, instead of processing it in a way and thinking, why is this? You kind of rather just poke fun at it. And I think there needs to be more of a spokesperson towards disability, because I think when it comes to like the racial side of things, or when it comes to your sexual orientation, there are people out there and they're
there's so many role models.
And they're kind of making it accepted in a way. But I think with disability, there's nothing on like social media to be like, you know what, this is actually okay, and being different is actually all right. Because I think the society are a bit like sheep. So I think once one person's doing something, another person's going to do it, because people just like trends. So I think if disability was a trend and it was cool to maybe go out with a disabled person or be friends with a disabled person, everyone else would follow suit.
The week before lockdown, we were walking down the road and all of a sudden somebody had stopped and blocked my way in front of me, and then I was aware that this woman's face was right up to mine, and she just started shouting and yelling at me, saying that my dog was carrying the coronavirus and it shouldn't be out. So I just politely asked her to step back because she was invading my space. And then the next thing I heard Inca really yelp. I said to her, what on earth have you just done? So she actually said to me, oh, well, I've just kicked your dog because it shouldn't be out. Animals are carrying the coronavirus. And then I said to her, do you realise you've just assaulted a working dog? And then she started swearing and then just walked off out of my way. Inca just fell down to the floor, so I knew that she'd obviously been hurt. Turned round and went home, called the police, then got a friend to run me down to the vets with Inca, and we found out that she'd got severe bruising, which meant that she couldn't then work for 3 weeks. The police contacted me and said that they would continue investigating to see whether they could get a prosecution or not. But at that point, lockdown was happening, and I didn't think that we'd be able to identify who it was. So obviously it's gone on record.
Forward.
When we got the all clear for Inca to go back to work, we decided that we'd try to go get some shopping, and then that's when we were refused entry to 2 local supermarkets. We spent about 20 minutes queuing, got to the front, and the security man said, I'm sorry, madam, you can't come in. So I said, well, why not? He says, well, you've got a dog and you won't be able to socially distance. And I says, but you can't stop my guide dog going in because you're breaking the law. And he says, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you in. And until you've gone, I can't let anybody else in, so you're holding up the queue. So I then left there and I walked up to a new supermarket that had opened. And exactly the same thing happened there. So panic had set in, anxiety had set in then. There's a new Lidl open, so I thought, well, that's the only place locally now that I could possibly try. A security man came up to me and he says, oh, can I help you, madam? So I said, well, I'd really like to do some shopping, but I says, no doubt you're going to tell me that I can't go in. He says, no, that's not a problem. I'll get a member of staff to give you a hand. I've spoken to the person on the cash desk and they'll shout you when it's safe to walk forward. And then all of a sudden, I heard a gentleman shout, don't you dare do that. And I sort of like looked up and I says, oh, you know, I'm not doing it. And he says, no, I'm not speaking to you, darling. He says, there's a lady behind you and she's just picked your eggs up out of your basket. She says, my children are desperate for some eggs. So she says, there's none left on the shelf. Can I have them, please? And the gentleman was saying, put the eggs back down in the basket. That is stealing. So they took her off. And I just thought, I don't believe it. You know, somebody thinking that they can then take items from my basket. Sometimes people out there, they just think that, oh, well, you've got a guide dog, that means that you can't see. They just presume that you've got no vision at all. They won't know what we've done, we'll get away with it. Although the government had set up this priority shopping, people with sight loss were being refused access to the list because they were saying that we didn't have a health condition or a more severe disability. So it was then Guide Dogs and the RNIB started a campaign, contacted the government to try and get people on a priority list.
Fuck's sake. Oh. See, I can't turn till I get down here. And even then, it's not the biggest. Like, my hallway would have been wider than this in my other home, which was made for people in wheelchairs. Over the last 10 and a half, nearly 11 months, I've moved about at least a half a dozen times, and also been in hospital. My health has taken a beating, so I'm still homeless as a result of all of the just everything that's happened.
At present, nobody is being prosecuted for anything that happened to Elsa for the time she lived at that address. She's living in very dissatisfactory temporary accommodation. There is absolutely no word, no sign, no plans on what accommodation is going to be made available for her that's suitable for her as an individual in the wheelchair she uses.
The most annoying thing is the carers turning off all the fucking switches every time I tell them not to in the kitchen. And I can't fucking reach them. If I want to get into that cupboard, I need to pull this out of the way. So what I normally do is, oh shoot, the urine bags.
I don't understand it. Just because we are different, I didn't bother other people. I got on with my life. The only conclusion I'm left with is because I didn't fit in. I don't think that people who perpetrate this sort of crime understand there is a lot more impact, especially if you have a disability, because look at the result. I had a home and I had a life. I have lost everything.
I think the future's quite bleak for Ilse. Until the right property is either found or built, she will be continuing to live as a homeless individual, being moved every couple of months.
Right now, I can't see a future. I feel like I don't belong anywhere. I don't even know where I'm going to end up.
The attack has left me feeling very angry, very anxious. I feel like they've taken my freedom away from me. I'm a very outgoing person, I love socialising, but I can't do that now without anyone being with me all the time. I can't leave the apartment without anybody being with me. Because of how it happened, how quick it happened, I'm just so scared it could happen again.
Just changed a lot of things with her. She wouldn't go out, and I don't blame her. She's still not going out now. Not to feel safe in where you live, and she's lived there for some time. It's a horrible feeling. It just destroys everything.
I can't continuously where I live. As much as I loved it, I can't. And I've lived here for 55 years. I don't feel safe here anymore. And that's sad. I'm moving house. Not saying it can't happen anywhere, because I'm sure it can. I'm not so naive to think it can't. But I think it's less likely to happen where I'm moving to.
What we've done, we've gone and bought a bungalow for over 55s. It's absolutely brilliant for us because the light switches are suitable for Andrea, so she can reach them. So there's only a few adaptations we're going to have to do.
We're just waiting for our completion date. Some photos here.
With the future, we just want to have a good life. Just let us get on with our own life, and people just see us as the norm. It'll never happen. It will never, ever happen.
Don't you beep beep. If you've got a disability, that's hard enough, having a disability, without having to try and adapt for the expectation of society, and also to be made to feel that you've got to accept people name calling, pushing you about, pointing, laughing, staring. Because if it's not good enough, if it's not acceptable for other differences, why should it be acceptable for people with disability?
Me being like a mixed race woman, it's quite strange that like it's not okay to make race comments, it's not okay to kind of discriminate me for the colour of my skin, but it's okay to see someone who is disabled, someone who's struggling, you know, someone who's just trying to get by, someone who's just trying to go to work and live a normal life, that it seems okay to then make them feel small and make them feel like they don't belong in society. Because of the things that have happened and the way I've been treated by society, I think, has definitely made me a more anxious person. You're always on alert, you're always watching what other people are doing, and you're always watching how, like, if people are going to be looking at you, and it's like you can't just like sit back and relax or just not think for a while. You know you're going to get looked at, and you know you can't just, sometimes you get this feeling of just wanting to disappear because you just, like, you can't escape people's eyes and you can't escape the attention you might get, even if you're not asking for it.
You feel you've got a constant battle every day when you get dressed. You don't just have to put your clothes on, you've got to put your wrestling tights on. Because when you go out there, you've got to prepare for a battle. You have to choose whether you're going to take that battle on that day or whether you're just going to leave your wrestling tights at home and just have a day off.
Details of organisations offering information and support with disability hate crime are available at bbc.co.uk/actionline.